Hi guys! Today's lesson is going to be about ecosystem stability and change. There's really two big things you want to keep in mind as we talk about this topic. The first is, what is the impact of the environmental changes that are happening in the world? And then how are populations of organisms going to respond to those changes or those external factors? Now I want to start off just talking about what ecosystem stability is. Ecosystem stability is the ability of an ecosystem to maintain its structure and function over long periods of time, despite having disturbances, things like catastrophes or species coming in and out. If your ecosystem is able to survive for a long time, it's considered to be stable. Now, the key to ecosystem stability is biodiversity. Biodiversity is something we have talked about in my class before, but to refresh your memories, it's the total genetic variation of all the organisms in an ecosystem. You want to look at an ecosystem and see how many different organisms there are and how many different genes are in that ecosystem. The higher your biodiversity, the more likely it is that your ecosystem is going to survive and remain stable for a very long time. Now, there are some things that are threats to biodiversity in nature, and we're going to talk about a couple of those. And remember that since biodiversity is linked to stability, if you are threatening the biodiversity in an ecosystem, you're also threatening how stable it's going to be over time. The first threat that we're going to talk about is human activity. Humans do a lot of things on this earth that can decrease the amount of biodiversity that's found in our environments. I'm only going to talk about a couple today, but keep in mind there are a lot more. So if you're interested in that, do some research. The first one I'm going to talk about is habitat fragmentation. This is when you take a habitat and you end up splitting it into smaller sections. Let's say I've got a giant forest and humans come in and build a highway directly down the middle of that forest. They're taking a large habitat and splitting it up into smaller parts. And the organisms on each side of that highway are going to have a hard time getting to the other side and interacting with each other. And so it really changes the landscape of the ecosystem there. The second would be improper hunting. When you have people who go out and overhunt or hunt more than they're supposed to, it can be detrimental to species. We've talked in class about an example where humans hunted seals almost to their extinction. There wasn't anybody saying, stop, don't hunt this. So we just kept hunting and hunting and hunting, and eventually that species almost went extinct. We had to do a lot of work to bring it back to a full population. Now, there are normally laws and rules and things when it comes to hunting, and when people don't follow those, it affects our ecosystems in a very big way. The third would be pollution. Anytime that we pollute water or pollute the air in our cities, we greatly affect the organisms that live around us that rely on that water and that air to survive. And then lastly would be introduced species. And what this means is that a lot of times humans bring in plants or bring in animals to a new place where they're not naturally found. Let's say I find a really cool plant that I want to put in my garden, but it's only found in Asia. And so I order that plant, I bring it here, I plant it in my garden. I'm bringing in a species that is not normally here, and it's going to impact the species of plants that are normally in this area. Now, when this becomes really dangerous is whenever those species are invasive species. Throughout time, humans have brought stuff over, like I said, plants and animals that seem harmless, but when they get here to this new habitat, it becomes incredibly invasive or dangerous for the organisms that are normally here. Invasive species, which sometimes are also called exotic species or non-native species, they rapidly increase due to the lack of natural limiting factors, giving them an advantage over native species. Let me give you an example. If I bring over a new animal and I set it free in Texas, that animal that's not normally in Texas is not going to have any natural predators. Anything coming out and trying to hunt it and keep its population to a certain size. So since it doesn't have any predators, it has the capability of growing and reproducing and growing and reproducing and multiplying. And eventually you can have a lot of these organisms in your area that didn't used to be there. And whenever those numbers multiply and get bigger, that new species is taking resources from the species that are supposed to be there, from the native species. So this can be very dangerous. Let's look at a couple of examples. The first example that I have is called Asian carp. These are fish, a carp is a type of fish, that are typically found in Asia that someone brought over here to North America. Now, the issue here is that Asian carp are large, they have very big appetites, and they reproduce very quickly. And so these fish reproduce very, very, very fast. And what ends up happening is they take the resources from the fish that are normally here. They take the food. And so those native species end up being negatively impacted because they don't have enough food for their species to survive. And this Asian carp is thriving because it's getting all the food and it doesn't have a natural predator that's keeping its population size in a limited number. The second example I have is a zebra mussel. Same thing, it's an aquatic animal. They look kind of like little clams, and they are one of the most aggressive invasive species in North America because they reproduce so quickly, and they end up taking over things. As you can see in this picture, that structure is completely covered in these zebra mussels. And when you multiply very quickly, you take resources that other animals used to get. The last one that I'm going to talk about is a plant. It's called kudzu. This plant, it's a vine that's typically found in Asia and was brought over to North America. And this plant, when you plant it and let it grow, grows like crazy. If you look at this picture, this entire area has been taken over by this kudzu plant. And what happens is it ends up covering structures, it ends up covering other plants. And whenever I've got kudzu that covers a tree that's normally there, that kudzu is stealing all the sunlight. And so it's able to do a lot of photosynthesis, and the plants underneath it are not, because they're not getting enough sunlight and can end up killing off the species that are normally there that it covered. Okay, the second thing that can affect biodiversity is natural disasters. Natural disasters, things like tornadoes, earthquakes, fires, hurricanes, tidal waves, things like that. If you think about the impact that that has on the environment, if I've got a forest fire that starts up and burns through a forest, all the organisms that lived there are going to be impacted. That fire is going to end up killing plants as it goes. It's destroying homes of animals. So those animals either die in the fire or they have to leave, go find somewhere else to live. These types of natural disasters can wipe out species completely from an area, and that is going to impact your biodiversity. Okay, once something like a natural disaster happens, your species is going to have your environment is going to have to regrow. And that regrowth process is called succession. And that is actually topic number 2 for this week. So make sure that you watch the video for topic number 2. You guys have a great rest of your day.